All right, so here we are for our first episode of Personally Injured, the podcast with my boy Moncy Blanco-Herrera.
We're not in court. We're not in court, and you don't throw out the Ramon, man.
I
didn't even know that was my first name till first grade.
That's what I'm saying. But hey, we've known each other I was doing the math, for almost 20 years now. And we started out as baby lawyers when we met, and now I think, are we old men?
We're definitely middle-aged, man. You know, and it hit me like maybe about 3 years ago, because I'm like 45 and I remember being like 42 and we're like in Disney World and we couldn't get they have like those photographs that they take of you like when you're going down a ride, and my wife was all pissed off because we lost a photograph, and she's calling Disney and she's like, look, it's me and my middle-aged husband and our 2 kids, going down Mine Train. And I'm like, oh God.
Well, I guess we'll go middle age, man, because you got to give me that look. You give me that Val Kilmer look, like I'm in my prime. So I'm over here feeling it. But anyways, I know that every time we get together, everything that we're talking about is usually, the career, the funny stories, the crazy stories, all of the stuff we can reminisce about. So as we discussed, I think it's a great opportunity for us to share some of this funny craziness that we deal with on a regular basis with the world, while at the same time having a drink with my boy.
Cheers.
Maybe get a little therapeutic benefit from this. Cheers. Maybe a little cathartic benefit from this. And, we'll see where it goes. But, we met when we were at the state attorney's office in Broward County, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, man. And I will never forget those times. I'm sure it's the same for you and all the stories that we have when we were there. But, talking about just the beginnings of our career, we were bright-eyed, a bushy tail. Some of the stuff that we saw, you never would have thought 20 years later would still be
man, those were the best times, Ian. The best times. Take me back. If I was independently wealthy, I'd still be over there.
Would you say that was your favorite job?
I've only done 2 things. I've been a prosecutor and I've done personal injury law, and trust me, I'd rather be a prosecutor. My wife asks me all the time why I watch Dateline. I'm like, because I want to go back. I want to be a prosecutor. I think she thinks that I'm trying to hurt her or kill her, but that's not it, man. I just want to be a prosecutor again because it's the best job ever.
See, man, my wife was watching, she would fall asleep to, Forensic Files. I'm like, I can't. It's all day. Even when I'm going to bed, I'm still hearing prosecutions. But I could say, man, the camaraderie and the teamwork and, the unified goal and all of that made it, I think, just a blast. And, when you're in it, I remember thinking it was just, it's super important. And it was. But some of it, looking back, if we didn't get a good result at trial, or the judge reamed us out one day, it'd be like, it ruined the whole week. And looking back, like, what? Really? I should have enjoyed it.
Hey, listen, man. I'm like Brad Pitt in Unglamorous Bastards, man. I could take an ass chewing, man. You know what I mean? I had no problem in there. And but the part of it, and the best part, like you said, is the camaraderie. We were all 20-some-year-old attorneys. This was our first job. And we were all together. We got to hang out every day, and we were undergoing the same fight. And we had so many people to round table with, so many people to talk to. It was like you would come to work and hang out with your best friends for 5 days straight.
Oh, yeah. I remember it. It's crazy. Like, it's almost still somewhat like it's yesterday. Do you remember? I remember my very first trial, and that in and of itself was a crazy story. I don't even know if I told you about this. I wasn't even technically a lawyer yet. It was my last semester of law school, and you could do that CLI program where they let you try cases.
I forget. There's a term for that. I forget the term, where you were able to try cases, argue motions, but you weren't a lawyer, and you were allowed to do it when you were at the state attorney's office. Because I remember doing that because I interned at the Gainesville state attorney's office.
Did you have to wear boots? when you were in court there?
Listen,
they go
bro,
full cowboy
they
boots?
knew who they were talking to. They saw this little guy from Miami talking mad smack, and they're like,
I think you could pull it
don't
off.
even try pulling that off.
I think you could pull it off. But yeah, so I'm doing this. I'm at that point 25 years old, and I go to the domestic violence unit. They put me in there. That's where my internship was. And there was an attorney there. I don't know if she saw an opportunity to like, hey, I could have this guy do a bunch of work, or if she really just liked me, wanted to take me under her wing. I don't know, but she was super cool. So she says, hey, you're gonna try this case with me, and it's a violation of a restraining order between two men that were a couple. And the one guy was this huge, kind of just steroided out, big dude, like clearly spent a lot of time in the gym. And then my victim, who had the restraining order, who had been violated, was this very, very slim, very slender gentleman. But he had been involved in some sort of massive accident. He, at one point, kind of alluded to, he thought maybe that his ex-lover had somehow caused this. So I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to stay away from that with a 10-foot pole because that's not what's charged here. But anyways, we start the trial. And before we start, I remember the lady that was, the attorney was overseeing it. She looks at me and she's like, you don't understand. This is going to be some Jerry Springer shit. And I was like, she's talking about whatever. I'm focused on my opening statement. I got my notes. I got my bullet points. We in the shelter.
Yeah.
We're about to handle this. I'm like, I'm ready to go. So I do opening statements. We call the victim, our client, as opening witness because he's got to tell a story of what went on here. He goes up to the stand, sits there for like 2 seconds, but he's got, these kind of injuries. Wasn't like paralyzed, but he was, it wasn't pretty. And the boyfriend over there with his attorney, he can't even say anything yet. And the guy just starts sobbing, like boo-hoo, sobbing, crying, to the point where the judge is like, sir, are you okay? And he's like, that's my wife. And he's like crying. And the whole jury's like, what in the hell is going on? The man didn't even say like hello yet. And I look at the attorney like, what do I do? And she's looked at me and she's like, I told you. So I proceed to try this case, and it ends up being like the biggest drama filled. He said, just so much nonsense drama. I'll never forget it. And the jury, they deliberated for like 2 days or something, some long time on some nonsense small charge, and ended up coming back not guilty. But I actually always remember feeling bad for the defense attorneys because they were sweating bullets. Like, is this guy going to get convicted on this? Like, what are they talking about back there? And it was clearly just two gentlemen who had a bad breakup, and, they were going to use the criminal court system to fight it out, to work their shit out in front of the world. And at the time, again, like, I'm 25 years old. I'm still in law school. I haven't even taken the bar exam, and I'm trying this case. I'm like, I gotta do it. I gotta do a good job. This is it. Like the trial scouts are out there watching. Like, nobody was watching. Nobody gave a shit. But at the time, it was the most important thing in the world. So I will always remember that. My first witness I called to the stand, we got to send the jury out so that the defendant can maintain and regain his composure.
I love it, man.
Crazy.
It sounds like your trial went better than my first trial, man.
There's no way. It was not guilty. You had to do better.
No, there's something worse than a not guilty, and your boy did that because I rolled in there, and it was the first day. I mean, this was the first day on the job, and I got assigned in front of Judge Peggy Gale, and she was awesome. She's great, and she was awesome to be in front of. So, and obviously, when you're the newbie, there's a lead attorney who's in there already. The lead attorney in there was a close friend of mine, still a close friend of mine. And he's like, guess what, buddy? You're going today. You're picking a jury. I'm like, what? I've never picked a jury before in my life. How do I do this? He's like, no, just go up there, man. Talk about it. Here's some bullet points, man. Just talk. Talk to them. See who you think. Who you think, would follow the evidence and convict the person that they know was driving under the influence and go from there. So I literally get up there, and I mean, talk about like, it just felt like I was in the middle of the street, I was getting hit by a car. I just didn't know, and I froze, because that's what it was. I was just like a deer there, headlights, getting ready to get crushed. And I was up there 3 minutes. I probably said hello to everybody. I'm like, I'm out. Nice talking to you. And then on top of that, forget about picking the jury. I get through the evidence. We get to the end. We're in closing arguments. And what's the one thing you can't do? The one thing you can't do when you're giving a closing argument. And you know that I broke that golden rule. That was the first thing I did. How would you feel if you did this? If you burned on the road?
You were out there like a John Grisham movie, dude, just violating the rules there. I was like, yeah, sounds good. Do you argue like in the John Grisham books? No. Because every one of them violates the golden rule.
I was like Matthew McConaughey in A Time to Kill, telling everybody to close their eyes. All right. I was about like, hey, just close your eyes over here. And that didn't work very well. So, I mean, I mistried my first case. I was embarrassed. But that's the whole thing. I learned from it. I was never going to be embarrassed again. I became like a DUI trial kamikaze. Like when nobody wanted to try a DUI, hey, mods, just roll in there. I'd just look at the file 5 minutes before, roll in there, make sure I had my cops, and I would just try them.
I'm feeling that. I mean, but you can see, trial number one, it was the beginning of this career where, while it is amazing, you know, I will never disagree in that I've been extremely fortunate in my career and to have been able to be a lawyer. But it can beat you up some days. So we are all personally injured, like the title of the show says.
Some days. I got my ass kicked today. I don't know about you, man. I've just been dealing with beatings since the minute I walked into this office, all right? So it's just the way it is.
Right.
I got one client calling me, asking me, hey, I need you to call this one cop over here who's saying that my car was in an accident, but I haven't been driving. And I'm telling him, I'm in the middle of a calendar call. What do you want me to do? You want me to, hey, Judge, sorry, I got one of my clients over here who's telling me he's being accused by an Aventura police officer of a hit and run, and he has a suspended license, and he's freaking out. And I gotta go. I gotta get on the phone and get rid of our calendar call. Just ignore.
Well, hey man, keep your head on a swivel, bro. I'm glad you got through it. But looking back at those times, man, as fun as it was, you could definitely see it was the beginnings of what we were gonna deal with. And then in addition to that, you know, just interacting with people, because, you know, the victims that we would have to talk to on a regular basis to, you know, hear their stories, but in addition to that, get them to come testify. Like, how many times was it like you're begging someone to come testify, you know, on their case where they were hurt? They're like, I don't want to be violent. I can't. I don't want to.
That's not even it, though, man. You're dealing with like all sorts of different aspects, man. A lot of the time, as an attorney, we were like a therapist, man. We were there trying to get them to feel confident, to find the confidence, to find their voice, to find, you know, for them to be brave to stand up to this person who did something awful to them. And we'd have to sympathize with them and be there for them. And the reality is, at the end of it, you cared so much about them, at least on my end, and I know it was the same for you, where I would care for these people, and I'm like, look, I've got your back. This guy, he's a scumbag. He's a scumbag. But you know what? It ends today. Whatever he did to you, we're not going to let him do it to anybody else ever again. And I will be there to have your back no matter what. And they appreciated that.
And like at the time, we were just doing our job, but what a valuable skill set we took with us from that, being able to interact and be therapeutic and helpful. And you know, with the person in their time of need, I feel like we use that all the time now, what we do in all the personal injury side of things. But, you know, speaking of scumbags, I remember our first trial together. When at that point now you were in front of a different judge. I got promoted in that division, and it was a drug trafficking case. And you're like, hey, you want to try this drug trafficking case with me? I'm like, bro, hell yes.
I remember this case. I'll never forget this.
And I'm thinking like go fast boats and like bales of cocaine falling out of planes and shit, and it couldn't be anything further from that.
But here, hold on. And this is like a good thing to talk about. Like, people don't understand how little of an amount drug trafficking could be. I mean, it could be like 4 to 5 pills of Xanax in your possession that that aren't prescribed to you. And that would be enough weight for it to be drug trafficking. People don't understand that, you know? Yeah. People think that, somebody's just like drug trafficking. Like the public thinks that drug trafficking is like somebody who's got a bunch of drugs and you're just selling it everywhere, all around the city. Yeah. But that can be the furthest amount from the truth. Drug trafficking can be just holding a certain amount of drugs on your possession. And the narcotics, I mean, it could be a very, very small amount.
What it comes with is massive penalties that are obviously scary for whoever's charged with it, but the minimum mandatory penalties that we had to deal with on a case that might have some warts, like this one that we're about to talk about. But, I mean, we're saying, I said, speaking of scumbags, this case had some serious heavy hitters involved in it. Like some bad dudes that were slanging a lot of ecstasy, except all those dudes had pled out and were already in prison. The two guys that were really responsible, they were really behind ecstasy. We had the remaining dude who was like the dorkiest, nerdiest.
We had the Patsy. We had the Patsy. And we're like, why are we going to even try this?
I know. And he wanted to make his foray into the drug dealing world. This was his first entry into the drug dealing world, and he wanted to be a hustler.
I'm sure it was his last. I haven't checked, but I'm sure it was his last.
And he got these two dudes that somehow he knew. They probably beat him up in high school. Who knows? There were now, these hardened criminal guys that were gonna, he had a connection to them, and he got caught in the middle and was gonna be the one that was doing this deal. This was gonna be, his calling card for the future. So little does he know, he's talking to a jailhouse snitch in jail. That's how it starts. And then they set up a full-on undercover buy-bust operation where they're going to buy these drugs and they're also going to bust all these guys. So they get them, but the real bad guys are like, all right, part of the job. Sign me out. I'm going to prison. Take my time. Let me go do my time. I'll take my medicine. Go to prison. And this guy's like, wait a minute. No, I was entrapped. This was entrapment. You all and we're like, well, I gotta go do what we gotta do. But turns out the confidential informant, who was the
biggest scumbag I've ever met in my life.
He's our star witness. And what he called, like 271 times or something. He called this guy, the defendant, to try and get this deal to happen. It was some insane amount of times. We're like, what are we supposed to do with this? They were like,
just try. I'd rather him walk the way. I'd rather the jury just walk him out the door than me make a decision and do the right thing. It's just, that was like the one bad part. The autonomy, not being able to make your own decisions. Like that might have been like the one part that really was terrible at times at the state attorney's office. We would do our best. Look, I'll tell you one thing. It's not like we prosecuted somebody who didn't do anything wrong. He did something wrong. Just in the grand scheme of thing of all the other scumbags that were involved in this process, I mean, that guy was a prince compared to them. You know what I mean? But he still did something illegal that he shouldn't have been doing. You shouldn't have been wanting to get into like some sort of, MDMA, selling. You didn't want to be a small-time little drug flipper. Not a good idea, man. Not a good idea.
He did two things wrong. He did two things wrong, bro. A, he tried to deal drugs. But B, he put on a ringback tone in his phone that will forever live on his legendary status. So I laughed because they had all these recorded calls with this dude's negotiating the price. Like, he's clearly in it to win it. Like, he wasn't getting the price per pill that he liked, but it was at the time where everybody's doing those ringback tones, whatever the song was, it's whatever, riding dirty, whatever. This dude, the nerdiest looking guy, okay, I'll bet he still hasn't had a date, has that song with Buck Cherry, you're crazy bitch, what you on top of me, like. So every time we gotta play one of these recorded calls to the jury, it starts off with Buck Cherry, wow, you're crazy bitch, and we're just, every time the jury's just cracking up laughing, and this dude looks like a guy who I don't even think, like, just has never talked to a girl, let alone warrants having that as his ringback tone. Okay? Ain't no crazy bitches in your life, bro. That's just real. But anyways, we get to the final stages of the trial. We're all zoned the trial, and you never know, as a state attorney, as a prosecutor, whether the defendant's going to take the stand until it happens. And this guy decides he's going to take the stand. And, so here we are. I'm taking notes as he's doing they're doing the direct examination of him on the defense's case. And I'm taking notes. And I'm figuring this Monts, that's how I remember the lead. I will never forget this. I'm figuring Monts, he's gonna slice this dude up. Like, then Monts is over me and he's like, "You want this?" I'm like, "Okay, fuck it. Let's get up there. Let's go cross-examine this dude." So right out of the gate, I'm going full Jack McCoy, bro. Except, obviously, 30 years younger. And I'm like, "So, sir, you've told us you were entrapped. You were entrapped. This was somebody else's fault. So, why were you negotiating the price of the pill? You didn't like the price per pill that you were getting, so you were fighting for more. Did anybody force you to do that? Anybody trap you? Oh, I don't know what you're talking about." So every time he disputes it, I gotta go dig up the tapes again with a friggin' tape recorder, like a cassette. I didn't even think it was a DVD, and I'm like pressing play and rewind, like like trying to get it queued up, and it's yo crazy bitch, and the jury's just like, "You gotta be kidding me, dude." Every time I'm reliving these calls with the guy. So it ends up, they end up walking the guy on entrapment because they, again, we've got what our confidential informant, our star witness, have been convicted of what? God only knows how many felonies. I think he was in prison when he was testifying.
That's the whole point.
And he was just calling and begging this guy, "Come on, hey, we're going to do that deal, we're going to do that deal, we're going to do that deal." 270-something calls he made to this kid. And the jury was like, "Yeah, I think this might have been entrapment." And me and Bonds are over here like, do with the Lord's work.
Dude, hey, our CI, he testified in a black and white jumpsuit, all right? That's all you need to know. Black and white jumpsuit. Not even orange. Orange is like the lowest level. Nope. Black and white.
Black and white, no. Man, but you got physical.
You have a bad case when you're using a jailhouse snitch. I mean, that's rule number... Like, the credibility, I mean, the weight of the evidence that's given to, like, that testimony is low. Very, very low.
We had to call in it was the defense called in the other guys, one of the two other guys that was in prison, one of the real bad guys that was and they brought this dude in, shackled up. He's like 6'5", just Aryan Brotherhood looking type dude. And I'm like, it looked like some Hannibal Lecter shit when they might as well wheeled him in. And I'm like, oh my God, dude, of course they're going to look at this little nerdy guy and think he didn't do anything wrong. Those guys made him do it. And we're just like, come on, man. Come on. Give me a chance here. I wouldn't trade him for the world.
That case was one of more, like, they probably walked him on the whole common sense element that's read to them in the jury instruction. I mean, and that's one thing that most people don't realize. You're allowed to use your common sense when you're making your determination to any of the facts that come in any of your cases. All right. So you have, like you said, how you describe him. Not how I describe him. I don't want to say he's nerdy. I just say he's timid. He was a timid guy. All right. A guy who wanted to be cool. He's like a follower of sorts, So that's kind of like how my read was on him. But just picture that guy, and they see them, and then they see all these other scumbags that are worse scumbags. And they're, it's like they use their common sense. They're like, wait a minute, this guy was probably pressured in some way to do this, even though he was negotiating the prices of the pills.
Oh yeah, he wasn't happy. It was like $150 a pill, and he wanted $250 a pill. Like, he was not backing down. But I think it was, you learned about it early on. For everybody out there that wasn't go to law school, jury nullification. You hear it, like, he in law school, like, oh yeah, whatever. He's not on the final. Okay, I'm not paying attention. Well, pay attention, because that shit is real. In all walks of what we do, the jury is going to go in there. And despite the fact that they got a specific instruction to follow the law, they ain't following it. They're going to do whatever their gut and their mind tells them that they want to do. And, like, that is not an abnormal thing, especially the criminal world. Like, God only knows what they're doing back there in deciding these cases, but you know, you were dealing with it all the time. In that instance, like, sure, we would love to give the guy some probation, learn his lesson. Hey, man, you're trying to live with the big dogs. Next time, stay on the porch. But here, they were like, go to trial. All right, whatever. Get another notch on the belt. What are you gonna do? You know. But yeah, I think that was when I started to notice a little bit of, you know, of the struggles on that end of things. Was when you had somebody who, you know, I'm not learning to cast any aspersions, but maybe you had a supervisor who wasn't really into trying cases when they were in our shoes, but then sitting back from the ivory tower like, go to trial. I'd rather a jury walk around the door like, what? Why don't you come try it? I saw you leaving at 3 o'clock yesterday. I was here till 7. Like, why don't you go try it? But I definitely saw it. I think that was the beginning of when I saw some issues with the job. But in the meantime, still, like, you got to keep in mind, it was a blast because every day I'd come in at, like, you know, we'd have to get there at like 7 a.m., whatever it was, to prep for the morning because court would start at 8:15 or earlier. And every day I'd come in and Monts would have on the Moncy playlist. And it was...
Always, man.
It
Still
was
fire.
Tight, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
I miss it. And back then, I will never forget. John Legend just 30 to go right now. And I'd be like, in the,
You gotta get hyped up, man. A
Officer-
lot of things have to happen in court. You gotta make it all fall into
but
place, dude.
one day I will never forget. It was on, dude, and it was going hard. The walls were shaking. Oh, we're getting hyped. And then, like the record, and you were like, oh, hell no. And I was like, what's up? What the? And you were like, hey, get in here. And I'm like, what is going on? And I'm like, all right, well, something bad happened. I would get down, like 2 hours down, whatever. Get down there. I'm like, what's up, man? And there is our third. We won't say names. Love him to death. He's the third in our division. And Moncy's got him in his sights, and he's like, do you see this shit? And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? He's like, my man's got on a black belt. But a brown belt with black shoes. And you're like, I can't be going to court with you standing next to me looking like that. I got a reputation to uphold. And you're like, I'm like, it was like, what, like a tan suit? It was just an all-around.
It was a sheer disaster, all right?
Speaking
I
of
know.
shoes.
Well, listen.
My man.
Let me describe you this guy. I love him to death. Like, just one of the kindest souls you'll ever meet. You know, very principled soul, a very good attorney. But I mean, just clueless. Just clueless on the day in, day out workings of being a normal human being, all right? He was from Michigan. I don't know if South Florida was a little too fast and loose for him, but he rolled in here like if he was just going to go in and go to like a Michigan State game. And I'm like, you can't be doing this, dude. You got to present yourself. Remember, nobody's going to want to... You're selling, dude. That's what we are.
Yeah, this is... He looked down. I was like, "What? This is tight. This is solid." And you were like, "No." And I was like, "All right."
No, look, there are few fashion rules. All right, look, no one's ever gonna get them all right. No one's trying to be on GQ. No one's spezza, whatever the Italians call it. All right, no one, especially with our amount of flow, is gonna be that was working at the state attorney's office, can have the right amount of flow to have the right suits or whatever it may be to look great all the time. That's okay. But there are certain rules to fashion that you just need to abide by. And there's one in particular. You gotta match the belt to your shoes when you're wearing a suit. All right, I don't care what color it is, man. I don't care if you're wearing a black suit and you got brown shoes. Just wear a brown belt too, even though it doesn't match. Just make sure your belt and your shoes match. And the dude shows up, and I'm like, hey, we're taking you to go get shoes. So we went to Five Guys that day for lunch, and I just rolled into the Payless shoe store that was next door and bought him a pair of brown.
I was there. We split it.
I don't even remember. I was so mad.
Put our shekels together, like it was like our piggy bags were breaking them over. Like we gotta fix this.
I was so mad I might have blacked out and don't remember who paid. All right, I don't know. All right, I was just there. I was so pissed off. I just couldn't believe that I had to have this fucking conversation with a 28-year-old man. All right, and I'm like, dude, just fucking match them. That's it. That's all I'm asking for. You can do whatever the hell you want. You could shear your head once a year because, by the way, this guy, he would grow out his hair once a year and then just shave it all out. Like if he's, if he's Alexander Bobrovsky. It's like Bob for the Panthers, all right? He fucking shaves his head after winning the Stanley Cup and then just grows it out throughout the year. Well, that was our third too. Except for the difference is it wouldn't come down like a lion. It would pop up like a mop. All right, and this guy looked like the two little kids in the Royal Tenenbaums, Ben Stiller's kids in the Royal Tenenbaums, all right? And then finally, one day, he grows it out. I mean, he looks ridiculous. I don't say shit about his hair because that's his hair, like he can't, whatever. That's different, right? It's not like a brown belt, brown shoe sort of thing, It's like you wear your hair however you want to. You can look like an asshole. That's your personal choice, not mine. But he shows up the next day and he with a shaved head, and I'm like, dude, I like it. That's a good look for you. Why'd you do this? He goes, yeah, I do it once a year, man. It's just like grow it out and then I just clip it. I'm like, oh yeah, how much you paid for that? How much you pay your barber to do that? He goes, pay a barber? I did it myself. I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, what do I do?
I just remember the tail end of it. I caught the tail end of it. You're like, what are you, a sheep? You just shear yourself like once every 6 months? And I was like, I can't. I would always be like on the drive-by, just to walk by, like, what? Oh, all right, I'll just leave that alone.
I can't help it. Listen, I can't. That was the thing about it. That's why it was so much fun. It's like we were all there. We were all good friends. Yeah. And it was just a busting balls session, And that's how I mean, like, I think Levitard used to say, intimacy among men is like how much you could bust each other's balls. You know what I mean? And that was like what the best part of it was. We would go in there on a day in, day out basis. We had all our friends. We were able to just like shoot the shit. And when we needed each other's back, like when we needed help, we were all there for one another. And when we needed one of us to have the other person's back, dude, there was an army there. And because of that, that's why that job was amazing. But it doesn't change anything. I mean, because now it's like real life. We got real problems. I mean, the stories that I deal with on a day in, day out basis are way funnier than anything I dealt with at the state attorney's office. Because now I got kids that are crazy. All right. Now I got my wife, who's amazing. Thank God. Because if not, I'd be in a terrible place. But I mean, and now building your own practice and your own, and the pressures that come with it, the day in, day out, and how many people's lives you're responsible for, it's really difficult, man. It is difficult. I see how much it takes on my end over here to send my daughter to private school, to send my son to private school, to pay for a mortgage, to pay for cars, to pay for staff, and the sacrifices that I make personally to make that all happen. And I'm like, that's just never going to, you're never going to be able to get fully compensated what you're worth being over there, to the point that you're going to be able to maintain the nut that you need to maintain your household. Once you get to that certain level of expenditures. So unfortunately, I'm not independently wealthy. I may go back. If they let me play golf on Friday mornings and I win the Powerball, I may go back, I'd be glad to go do it. I may even just do it for $1. Do it for $1.
They're not playing no golf on Friday mornings there. They're not into that.
Oh, bro, that's why I could never work for anybody else ever again. I got tired of working for people and then being like, hey, where are you? I'm at a doctor's appointment, man. They're telling me I need a colonoscopy. I mean,
trying to get my body right so I can go back to work and you're busting my stones about it.
And they told me that I need to reduce my stress, and yet here you are giving me shit about going to the doctor because my fucking stomach's not working right. Fuck off.
I feel you. But hey, I remember that. I remember that when we all were looking to make that change. I think you were like a couple months the same time as me when we bailed and went into the private sector. And, I remember thinking, the future's bright, man. Like, look, this is exciting times. But little did we know, as you said, I could take an ass chewing. Little did we know what was coming our way. Later on down the road, in just a matter of months of what we were going to deal with and the transition to the private world. But hey, we'll dig into that next time as we continue enjoying drinks, enjoying some time together, reminiscing. And it's only going to get crazier because the stories, like you said, yeah, me too, man. But once that money's involved, those stories get even crazier. So I can't wait to dig into it.
And forget about even like the money, man. It's just like the day in, day out craziness that we deal with. Even in the office with staff, man. There's a lot of funny stuff. Oh, yeah. It's just ins and outs of being an attorney and living the lifestyle of solving everybody else's problems but your own.
That's right, man. And we are, at this point in our lives, personally
100% out.
Have a good weekend, bro.
Later, bro.